Welcome back, friends, to EU League. It's time for game number 4. Pawns versus G2 Esports is about to begin. Penultimate match for Playday number 6. Welcome to Desk. I'm Nostra Medic. This is Fresh and Emmy.
Hey.
How are you today?
I'm all right.
It's good to have you back.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah, let's go.
We were both ill, and now we're not. Yeah, it's nice to be back and see everybody's happy face. Apart from Fabian, I miss his sad face. I hope
that's his.
Well.
They call it a resting Fabian face. So.
I thought it was just because he was Swedish.
Swedish.
Yeah.
Hello, Jack.
Hello.
How are you handling the things on the other side of this desk?
I'm just enjoying the chaos that is the desk today. It's been excellent.
Yeah. I don't know where Des got that hat from. Nice hat.
I don't know where it came from. Silly, as you were saying, but we are in for Pawns versus G2. We're going to talk about these two squads and what they have to offer. First up, G2. Emmy, what are your thoughts?
Well, they have to offer a lot. What they give us, not enough. And I think that's apparent for everybody. It's the struggle with G2 right now. If you built a super team and they're not very super, the problems that are coming together are actually ones on attack. So that works in two ways, that joke. It's the thing of them not really being able to thread things together. They lose the idea of the objective. They miss where the plant is. They miss where things are coming together. They can't quite find how to get it over the line and keep that five-pronged togetherness. On the defense, it's fine because you're having Doki, you're having Citizen, you're having Virtue, have these great moments, these great rounds. Alamau, a little bit hit and miss, and the same with Prano, unfortunately, at the minute. But come attack, things just fall apart.
Something happened on Skyscraper, didn't it, last week?
It did. Would you like me to show you?
Jack?
I'm ready.
You need the hat?
I've got a I'm not putting
Is
it
a
on.
surprise?
I'm not putting
Go
it
ahead.
on. And I'm not surprised. I'm going to go back over to my favourite position, which is the telestrator position, and I'm going to go through G2's woes. Now, I'm actually going to start this round off. It's going to be a positive. Prano gets a really nice drone, a nice yellow ping, gets Doki to go on the drone, and Doki gets a lovely kill from the back of it. Now, G2 are doing a karaoke T attack. They've worked their way across from the office all the way across to the west side, and they managed to get into a really good man advantage. But what we're going to actually see is what I call the G2 paradox, is when they get into this late round of the attack, where's the communication? Where's the leadership? Where's the ownership of who's doing what? So Doki will eventually force his way into Geisha, get a kill, and set up a 4v2 scenario. Now, G2 managed to somehow lose this 4v2 scenario, and we'll go into it. You see there, Solotov's dropped off the hatch, Doki's got himself into Geisha down here, and then the fight will push through as the rest of the team are still pushing across the west side. Right, 4v2, Doki gets traded out. Now, this is the bit where I have the problem with, and the problem with G2 in general. The positions are now known. Solotov gets a kill below, and Nello just got a kill on the main stairs, which means you know that one player is below, one player is main stairs, and you have full control of both T and karaoke. What do I expect G2 to do? I expect them to plant, and I expect them to plant in this doorway here. The colour's not great on that, so I'm just going to change it. In this doorway here on the green box, into T. What do? Two players go and chase a kill. One player goes and just runs through towards the staircase, and suddenly the round is just given completely back to M&M. You can see the two players looking towards the main stairs here up the top of the screen, and you can see also Prano runs through to try and go for a plant in karaoke. Prano dies with the diffuser. Suddenly these players aren't talking to each other. Another player dies to main stairs, and then it's a 2v1 right back in the favour of M&M. And this is where I question G2. Who's taking the ownership in the late round to achieve the objective? Because for me, it's very simple. There was only one C4 below. Even if that C4 hits, you can replace the planter and get the plant down and play for the objective. But the communication, especially when I've watched the communication videos, seems very clustered, and there's not much ownership or direction at the minute.
I love where he does this.
Jack.
He's really showing off. But in this case, I'm really wondering, is there an objective? Because G2 have kind of forgotten what it is. You know, if you're on defense, you get into that defense mindset. It's like, well, we just have to kill everybody or kind of play for time. You don't do that on the attack, do you? And you definitely don't walk across into an open hallway when you can just plant on the door.
It's that sort of quandary. It's that problem.
What now?
Is a quandary, a conundrum. It's
okay.
a tricky situation of the brain. Because how do you overcome that level of objectivity? Now, we all know at this point that obviously they're changing coaching staff. Shaz, who had the spot for a very long time,
Yep.
is gone. That's a change from the top. That's a big potential architectural change, which, let's be real, that's what they need. That's where the play sucks, is, as you pointed out, and as we all see, that execute side.
So now, what about Pwns on the other side? Because they themselves have not had the best of time either, Jack.
No, they haven't. And actually, they really need to improve. And I don't like starting off talking negatively about a team. But with Secret's win last week, Pwns are now dead rock bottom of the overall standings when you're talking about relegation. They're in that auto relegation spot. And Pwns have been pretty poor, other than a game against Na'Vi where Na'Vi did some kind of off-meta stuff. They seem to want to go to Chalet a lot of the time, despite the fact that they don't appreciate the map. You know, we've seen Aspire talk about it a lot with the hatch on the wine cellar and the fact that they're not even opening it, they're just leaving it soft and not bringing anything to open it. They seem to have this fundamental, really small map pool. And then when they have to go to maps that they don't play, they really struggle on them.
Well, I think the thing about Pwns and the fun statistic, obviously, both these teams have only beat Na'Vi. They've not beat anyone else. Pwns, out of the 26 defense rounds they've played, they've only won 9.
Yeah.
Out of the last 2 maps, the 11 they've played, they've won 2. They suck on defense.
Yeah. And G2 sucks on attack. So
I had more points, but you were rushing.
Yeah, I am rushing.
Now I know how Fabian feels.
We need to see what nobody knows how Fabian feels because he doesn't.
We do. He's
Which
angry.
map? Which map will it be, though, for the series? Let's get it up on the screen again. Best of 1 series, our 4th for today. And we're going to head over to Chalet, Oregon. Banned out by G2. They start off on defense, Pwns on attack. So the thoughts?
As I feared, we're going back to a map that Pwns don't like or seem to fundamentally understand when they play because they're limited by map pool. I expected G2 to see that, understand that, and therefore abuse that.
We haven't seen it from G2 this split. We've seen it twice from the side of Pwns this split, and to be honest, it's technically gotten better. It was a 2-7 against Heroic, and then a 4-7 against Outsiders. Maybe they'll get 6.
I'm not betting on.
It's a coin toss of a game, is what you're saying.
There's going to be a really shaky half when G2 are on attack and Pwns are on defense. They both suck on those 2 halves out of the comparison of their game. Whoever can do better that time, they're going to win the game.
All right, then let's see how it goes. Fresh, Emmy, thank you so very much. Let's toss it to Casters. It's Des and Ace. Enjoy.
Thanks, Milosh, with the finger guns. Pew, 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 pew. Chalet, we head into, Tim.
We do.
3rd time this stage for Pwns, G2. Back at the
Second
major.
time tonight for us.
2nd time tonight for us. Why the hell not? Well, what do you mean for us? The show.
The show.
I was going to say, not for us. We did border.
No, we did border.
This is our award
For us, the show.
for enduring border.
Yeah, we get a Chalet.
Thank you. Now, I say we get rewarded. You get to have a good old rant about
I'm not gonna.
Pwns
No.
and how they play downstairs.
No. No.
Hang on, Fresh. Have you got a fishing rod by any chance?
I'm not
I've got to
batting.
catch a big one.
I'm not batting.
I've heard about this massive
I'm not
fish in the
gonna rant.
Ewell Lake, and it's called Tim.
I'm not going to rant about the basement defence.
We'll see.
Unless
Unless
they close the hatch and they don't play Westmain and Boiler Wall. Then I might have something to say about it, but we'll see what happens. Pwns are going to kick us off on attack anyway, so that's a good start.
I'm going to need me a nice, thick fishing line here, aren't I?
No.
To reel in this big one.
G2 take out the first operator. It's going to be Thatcher that goes. I'd expect maybe a hard breacher to
If you were a fish,
Pwns,
what
but
bait
it could
would
be
you
a
bite?
thinker. I don't know, maybe sweet corn.
Sweet corn.
Yeah.
What is
Quite like
corn?
sweet corn. Some
Can't
fish,
you treat some, I don't know, gravy on chips
some
or something
fishermen
like that?
some fishermen like. Oh, I thought you meant like.
No, you.
Actual fishermen like.
We're sort of breaking out, like, we're talking about fishing you out of a lake.
Right.
Like, this is not real. This is not reality anymore.
All right, okay.
What would I have to put on the end of a fishing line to hook you in?
Maybe a nice fajita.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you know I eat a lot of chicken wraps.
Just chicken in and wrap and a bit of seasoning. Is that it? Do you want any,
Bit of seasoning.
do you want any lettuce with that?
Bit of rice. No, I'm not.
Cucumber?
I'm not much one for the salad.
No.
No.
Salad dodger. Let's get into game.
No protein in salad.
Not a lot of anything, to be fair. Just a nice bit of crunch. Our bands of rivals.
Wasted space.
No idea.
Just
where
wasted
that
space.
came from. That is not a waste of space. Right, bands. We'll get into a whole new debate there if you're not careful. We've had the 2 Intel operators taken away in the Nook and the Valkyrie. We've had the Wamai and the Thatcher. All pretty standard, it feels, for the most part. The Nook really starting to grow in popularity in Europe, not just in play, but also in ban. And I remember there was some people from NA talking about this and saying, hey, Europe really doesn't put as much focus on the Nook as they should.
And we've seen a lot more of it over the last couple of weeks. Tonight, we've seen quite a lot of knock play. And like you say, the band's drawing a little bit more attention as well. So, yeah, definitely more of a focus. It feels like we're catching up in that respect.
Would you have sweet corn inside a wrap, by the way, inside a fajita?
I mean, I think you could, I guess. To be fair, we've spoken about this before. The fact that particularly over the last few months, I was bulking up a bit. I've looked to put some weight on. So that's why I joke about that, because basically I'll have a wrap that's chicken and rice. Anything else that's in there is wasting me space. That's all I'm saying. If I put sweet corn in there, it's taking valuable rice space.
I was thinking about what you said about
If I stick some lettuce in there, it's taking valuable chicken space. Do you know what I mean?
I was thinking about the whole thing about what would you need to be caught up by a fisherman. You said sweet corn in the first
Well,
place.
I thought you meant genuine baits that like fishermen use
but
to
you like
fish.
sweet corn then?
Sweet corn's all right.
So put sweet corn in a wrap.
You know, it's all right. It's better than a maggot or something. I don't know. Whatever else fishermen use, I don't know.
Thank you, Tim. You entertain my bullshit so much, and I love it so
your one.
much. That's my one for the day.
Count it.
Exodus at the window is ready and waiting, as is Citizen, but he gets absolutely deleted by a mission who was ready and waiting, taking not a single shot in response, Tim.
Need to be doing better on the entry. G2 do not want to start getting behind in those stakes too soon. Citizen off the board, and he's one of those players that you just know can be very influential within a round. So that is a big start for Pawns here on the attack. Of course, we do expect the attackers to have a marginal advantage on Chalet, as we saw at the beginning of the night in the pre-show. Fresh's wonderful statistics. There's only a marginal advantage for either attack or defence on most of the maps in EUL at the minute, so it's not a given. That much is for sure. But G2, the problems are stacking up for them. They've lost Citizen. The shield has been cleared from top blue. We're only a minute in. There's going to be a lot of rearranging. There's going to be a lot of shifting that's going to be needed, especially if Dorky gets moved out of mezzanine.
Absolutely, yeah. That one first opening kill just kind of removes a lot of the threat on the north side as well. So now you start thinking about these air quotes default setups, right, around this mez area, around library, and getting that cleared out. And that's exactly where the focus is coming from for Pwns. Nade in hand, trying to burn through the ADSs. Having to catch a certain someone lurking out towards Mez, and Doki dip back inside a library. No pressure coming in, interestingly, from the window itself, so he's very happy to keep on playing things as he is here, dancing around a lot, forming himself a dynamic little bit of defense, being tagged out from the window as well, and there comes a kill back on the other way.
Dorky's doing a great job here of wasting a lot of time and allowing his teammate to work around him and to start to pick up the numbers game, which is exactly what Virtue's done with that find onto Nico. But as I say that, Dorky is going to be downed. He's not out at the minute, can be collected potentially, but on mezzanine it's highly unlikely. It's going to be very difficult for anybody to get to him safely, and Scyther is going to make that doubly difficult by starting to open up that wall through into library, give the long angle, and it's going to mean there is nowhere for Dorky to hide here, and Exodus is likely to push forward and find that kill, but no, WTG does it first, styles it out with a Rotero, manages to get himself the kill onto the downed Dorky, but with 38 seconds left to go, WTG finds Alamo, and G2 are holding on.
They've got to hold on for dear life at this point. Just the two of them remaining, both looking towards front door. Virtue. Oh! What a sweet, sexy shot that was. Love to see it down to a 2v2.
Absolute beauty from Virtue, spinning on the 180. Now then, that is not looking as good from Prano. Misses his shots there. We go from one extreme to the other. That leaves Virtue now in a 1v2. He's going to have to do something special, Des, but that's the first he needs. This could be an ace. There's 8 seconds left to go. It's all up to a mission. He doesn't have diffuser in hand. He's just going to play this out. There's no way he can get to him in time. Virtue's going to win the round.
Oh, behind him. He drops into connect at the last second, and I was like, oh, hang on a second, Virtue. You might just be looking the wrong way. But, well, that's one way to start things off. Not normally the play you attribute to pulling out a massive 4K in round one and winning it for your team single-handedly. You kind of got the duality of G2 there as well, between Virtue's play and then seeing Pranos with shots afterwards. It's just one of those. But a round is a round regardless, no matter which way you look at it. Pwns probably kicking themselves that they've let Virtue get away with that.
Next round going to be heading to Master and Office. Not too much of a surprise, usually the primary site, but they went to Bar and Gaming. To be honest, Chalet, its defensive sites are sort of much of a muchness, really. All very similar in terms of popularity.
Bam.
Absolute beauty. Look, it's this flick. Beautiful. Straight onto the head both times. Gets his man in main lobby. Just fantastically played by Virtue.
That's in half speed as well. That's slowed down. Yeah. I couldn't do that. Even at that speed.
I couldn't do it at half that speed.
You could give me about 30 seconds and I still wouldn't be able to land it that precise.
No. Brilliant play. G2 need to be careful, though. They can't rely on a Virtue 4K and a 180 turn and burn every single round, as they cannot. And they need to make sure that they're getting themselves numbers advantage whilst they're on the defence particularly. They're going to be going up to the top floor this time. Interested to see whether Pawns choose to push Solarium or whether it will all be sort of library and office balcony push. We'll see as the round progresses. 10 seconds into the action phase, Citizen still laying out some utility, and then looks like he's going on a little roam.
This is not a bad thing. We spoke about this quite a lot already today and across previous play days. Getting out in the map and trying to be competitive in different entry points to the building to try and slow the attackers down is never going to be a bad thing. I see Exodus on Finker, though, and I think back to a few of the recent play days where he just goes on an absolute tear on this operator. We've seen the same on Finker a couple of times, but on Iana, sorry, but Finker is where we've really seen him be at home. And already here, 30 seconds in, he's got himself inside of gaming and is looking to challenge inside from below just to make sure they have some pressure they can put him back the other way. Trying to look for a shield, but Doki and Citizen pulling off the double team on it.
Quite an aggressive position being taken up by Doki and Citizen there, looking to hold on to Library Corridor. You don't always see defenders push that far forward. Doki does have a shield to play in behind, and of course there's the Kiba barricades as well. Just going to be one punch there from Citizen, just looking to potentially... Oh, he sees his man! Exodus takes a lot of damage there. He's going to juice himself back up with the nanobot. Citizen almost getting himself a beauty of an entry there, playing above the Kiba barricade, but time to dip away from there, he thinks, and that's just going to leave the alibi decoy to hold down the Library Corridor.
Yeah, Exodus a single bullet away from death there as well. Just one more from Citizen Spray would have seen him taken down inside of gaming quite early on. But with that pull away now, with the shield being taken out by the Flores, G2 are forced to back away. So with Library Hall now vacated, Pawns can start working their way forwards. It seems to be they've got this split going on between a little bit on the ground floor, especially from Exodus, 2 or 3 of them working through the top floor, and now looking to get their way inside of half wall here and look for the plants.
Virtue's playing a nasty little angle here. He's just waiting for anybody to poke their way around there, but no, the drone is going to force him back because he knows that utility will follow. The castle barricade keeps him safe from off his bulk, and there's a mute jammer as well there to potentially stop him getting spotted out, but he's going to go back to half wall. Des, he wants a bit more. He's not going to find it, though. Emission and WTG find kills for themselves. Doki manages to trade one out. Citizen as well onto Exodus, finishing what he started. Now find themselves at a 3 versus 3. 45 seconds left to go.
Got the long angle hell. They've still got piano control as well. Most critically, you've got Doki up really close here. This is the danger for me, because in this position, you can spray them as they try and run in through the breach. You can swing around the corner nice and quick. You've got Alamau and Citizen on the longer angle. Alamau almost being taken out by the nade, but not quite enough damage. And there's Doki with the one swing. Now looking out towards Mez and waiting for another challenger to come up. And around comes Alamau. Doki into a second. Does Scyther know that he's coming in on the behind here? It's a 1v1 versus the bomb chassis. Scyther can't find it. Doki gets behind. A big 3k for the little man in the round. And Doki G2 go up 2-0.
Well played from G2. Better defence there, I thought, that time around. Like I say, it didn't come down to that Virtue 4K. It didn't come down to that hero play. They played quite well as a team. They were trading off each other. Citizen Doki playing well as a combination to hold down and burn time in Library Corridor. It was just all a little bit more polished.
Tim, you seen the site we're going to, mate? Are you ready?
I'm fine, Des. I'm fine.
You're fine for now?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
No, I'm fine.
I can just see that like vein pulsing on your forehead.
I'm absolutely fine.
You're ready. Well, let's see how G2 play this site. I know we're a bit worried about Pawns in the second half, but now we'll see what the game plan is. We did see coming in fact, the fact that a rotation's being opened up and they've got a shield on the alibi, it just screams to you exactly what's going on. My only concern here, Tim, for G2, they want to play Boiler with the shield. They don't have any ADSs. They haven't got any magnets. They have no way of stopping these nades raining in for free.
Yep, that is going to be a problem. So basically what we're going to see here is likely the other problem that they've got, Des, is they've no denial really to speak of to stop the hatch getting opened up. That's another problem here. So basically what we're potentially going to see G2 do, I'm not sure if they're going to reinforce the hatch or not. I'm quite interested in this one, because if you reinforce the hatch, Citizen is going to do it now, yes. So this is usually my sticking point. This is, you know, where you joke about me getting wound up, is the hatch being reinforced off. It's fine to reinforce the hatch off if you're going to play it like this. So you're going to try to hold on to Boiler. Basically, you're not going to give them West Main Wall and Boiler Wall. If you allow teams to come and open them, just reinforce them and hope that they stay closed. Close the hatch. That's a big no-no. That's a big problem. We've seen why as teams lose it over and over again. If you're going to reinforce that hatch, you've got to play that Boiler Wall, which is what they're doing with Doki out there. But there's two things that they're missing. As you quite rightly said, no protection against throwables. That's a big problem as well. Exodus able to take down Citizen in a good entry. He's going to get himself a second here as he comes. He just sees the man as well, recognises it, comes back round, but no, Doki on a good trade. That makes me wonder though, with Doki up on top floor, who is playing down by Boiler? They have to hold on to Boiler Wall because at the minute there's a rotation in there. They've basically given up the route to the plant spot, so they need to be careful of that.
I'd imagine you want to stick Alamal there, given it there he is. Yep, with the shotgun in hand, with 3 smokes on back pocket. His whole goal is just to waste time. And I think it was Super, who I know is co-streaming this, by the way. He was speaking earlier on and saying when Sonics play this hold, they'll do a boiler hold, they'll leave the hatch open, interestingly, and play it a little bit differently, where other teams might reinforce it off to make sure you can't be challenged on your rotate back through the double wall in towards site after you've burnt time. So, for all intents and purposes, you are playing your life or really overextending yourself to have control of up here inside of dining and also the downstairs. Now, at this point, I imagine they're looking to try and get this thermite in. They've also got the ace on side. They can use that to open up walls if they need to, for example. Haven't got to worry so much about a thermite being the only one to do that. That's why you've got the 2 hard breaches being forced out here by Pones.
At the minute, we haven't really seen the defence tested. You know, the fights have all been off in the map, so we haven't seen the setup tested yet. As I said, really, then maybe G2 could have done with a little bit of denial on that hatch if they wanted to keep it closed. Get an electrical on there. We saw that from Na'Vi, and it just prevents it being opened up because otherwise the thermite, the ace, can come in and do that. But instead of doing that, they've got players off in the map who are winning gunfights. Nico's going to find the trade on to Prano after he was able to take down WTG. So that now makes those exothermics a little bit more valuable, so they probably won't go for the hatch. But the difficulty that they're going to have now, Pawns, is getting themselves downstairs, getting Boiler cleared off. They haven't tried to touch Alamau yet, and this is the problem for them. They need to be getting nades in there. They need throwables, and they've only got 2.
And they've got 3 smokes to still face off against in Alamal's back pocket. So that's the big worry for me in these last 30 seconds, is you know one of these directions is going to be shut off to you. You best have an alternative. First smoke coming out here and raining on down. Alamal pushing around and gets to fly onto Nico in a 1 versus 1. That's the kind of play you want. And Pones here slipping up a little bit. Scyther almost going down to the smoke as it comes out towards Trench. Like I said, they're now starved. They're forcing their way down through West Main, trying to push their way in. Alamal's just better. He's ready and waiting for one more to come through. Scyther is nowhere to be seen. Still got a laser gate to push through that I'm pretty sure will kill him if he tries to step through it, and we'll be into a spot where this round is going to time out G2 into another round win.
Certainly looks that way. 3-0 it will be. G2 with a good defence there. Like I said, the setup was never really tested by Pawns, but to be fair, you can call that a win for the setup because it felt a little bit like Pawns didn't really know what to do with it. They didn't know where to push, where to prod and poke. You know, previously when we saw M&M break that down before we had the electrical motor on the following round by Na'Vi, the first time that M&M attacked into that, they absolutely hammered Trench. They were down there with throwables, down there with nades. They got the kill onto Thunder, and they were able to get into sight and get that diffuser down, and that's just not something that Pawns even really tried to do. They never got themselves down to basement level. All the fighting was done off in the map with Citizen and Doki.
Looking at Pones, they're a team that I think Fresh would describe you as dependent on their map pool as well. I know they've analysed this a few times on the desk previously, but looking at maps like Oregon and towards something like Club as well, that is where they seem at their best. And I remember the first time this stage we saw them play on Chalet, we were like, this is just not their kind of map. They just looked very unsure of themselves, a little bit uncertain. They're the team, I'd argue, in Europe that you can see as the most map reliant to be able to have a really strong performance. I'm not at all trying to say clearly they're terrible on this map, because they're not. They are down 3-0. It's going to happen, especially when you've got Virtue dropping a 4K, Doki a 3K, Alamal clutching up big inside of Trench, for example. But you are seeing that kind of the sticking point where they get stuck and they're not 100% sure what to do, or they're leaving things down to time when there's still 3 smokes in the back pocket. Just feels like Pones are still trying to find the answer to a lot of problems brought forward by teams on this map. And so far, G2 have done well to keep them at bay.
Virtue, he's just stood on the inside of this. There's Citizen gets Exodus, and Virtue gets Nico. What a great start for G2. 17 seconds in, 2 kills, and a round looking like it could be heading in their direction. But WTG, he manages to slam the brakes on and sends Virtue straight through the windscreen as he gets himself a kill and brings things back to 4v3.
It's not the end of the world, admittedly, but you have lost 4 nades in the back pocket super early in the round, so there's a lot of security coming in for G2 here, who have the Jaeger on side. So you're looking arguably towards a mission and thinking, all right, then there's 2 nades left to threaten us here. There's a number of flashes they can still burn their way through, so keep an eye on those vertical nades coming out, watch them being thrown to chunk out utility, like the shield for Alamal. But for me, the damage has been done. You've killed off 2 members here. You've got rid of the Finker, most importantly. It's the dream start for G2.
Certainly is. WTG is going to be working the window into blue corridor, but there is going to be no moving Alamo from that position whilst his shield is still in play. Dorky just playing inside of the library box, and we see WTG silhouette hopping through piano window just to air jab off that rear side so him and Amision can start pushing across without worrying too much. Of course, Amision has nades in hand, so should be able to deal with the shield, but they just need to make sure that there's going to be no utility in the way. Prano is playing on the Jaeger, so there is the potential for ADSs there. I think just a little bit of damage being done to Dorky as well, but G2 looking pretty good at the minute.
There you go, the shield now being taken out in exchange for about 30 HP being slowly chunked through on Amision's side. That Gonsik's doing the work for them, but you can see members of G2, you have this from Doki when he stepped in towards box. They really want to challenge up here and just keep these Pones players at bay. All the aggression was early in the round. It still means there's a lot to play for, so you can't just get back to site here and call it a day. I think G2 are doing the right thing by trying to keep Pones even further away and just keep on chunking that time down.
You can see Alamo, he's just skirting with danger at the minute, trying to bounce his way back up to the top of blue stairs. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, just needs to make sure that he doesn't overcommit to it. A lot of damage going to be done there to WTG, not really looking through the vertical as Citizen managed to find him from below, and that's what I was talking about with Alamo, just pushing it a little bit too far, overcommitting to those stairs and finding himself the victim of a nade. He is going to be down, not finished off yet. Doki is going to go, and that is the fact that the shield's been cleared out. It's allowed them to push forward effectively now, a 2v2.
Do they know they've brought themselves down to this point is the big question. I don't know if they know they got Alamau down here. Whether there was a drone watching from lobby here, for example, down towards where Alamau hit the deck, then absolutely they've seen the blood trail now and they'll know that he's down. So they know they're in a spot where it's a 2 versus 2. They've got 15 seconds to play with. They know that one is inside a split. This is their time to make it happen.
They've got to. There's no choice at this point. Amision continues walking down these stairs, but he needs to be careful about his angles from sight. That is Alamau bleeding out, but Prano finds one. Prano finds two as G2 take their 4th consecutive round now. Pawns just cannot even get a toe hold in this game.
They can't, and it's kind of a shame because they're getting the right idea. I spoke about this after the Rogue game. You saw the little hints of good team play coming out. In fact, that was in the game before. It was in the Heroic game. You saw the way that Pones pushed forward down Library Hall there with playing for trades against Doki. Thankfully, the first man got the kill, so they hadn't have to worry about the trade, but they were just ready to play for that 2 versus 1 to make sure they at least got something from it. It's always hard when you're down in numbers. Even to play for trades, for example, you're going 1 for 1 for 1 for 1. You're going to run out before they do. But at least Pones are still playing like that team sort of base player. They're using information to make things happen. Sure, it fell apart towards the end, but when you've lost your Finker and your Sledge so early on, plus 2 nades, you've basically lost half your team at that point because of the value those 2 operators bring.
Master and Office will be site number 5, and G2 as of yet unbeaten on the defence, going fantastically well, especially when you consider this is Chalet, and we would be expecting the attackers to pick up probably at least 3 rounds here if they wanted to call it a good half. So we're going to have Alamo on the Oryx this time, which could be interesting. We'll see him no doubt getting in and around the map. There's the potential for those vertical jumps as well, just to mix things up. Virtue looking to open up and castle off Library. So again, this is going to be quite an aggressive hold from G2 here. We saw Doki playing advanced with Citizen in Library Corridor last time, and I think we're going to see a little bit more of the same.
The lineups are almost identical, except there is now an ace on side compared to the Flores that WTG was running the last time round on this site. And let's not forget the big difference maker back in round 2 when we last saw this site was Doki getting on the flank, being completely ignored by opponents as well. He got behind Siler without Siler having a clue he was even coming, I think. And that 3k that he collected, you chalk it down as a hero play. For me, it was identifying a really big gap in Pones' play and just exploiting that. So this time round, I've really got to see Pones be more mindful of potential flanks coming through, make sure Piano stays as clear as possible, and don't let G2 fall back into those empty pockets.
Exodus being very cautious this time on the same angle that he lost his life to in the previous attack. He might just find Citizen here. He sees the waggle of the ponytail of his army, but cannot find the kill, but the nade likely will as it goes sailing through. No, somehow Citizen manages to sneak underneath it. Doki finds a kill onto Nico while Citizen blocks off the Library Stairs window. Nade from underneath does find Doki though. 4v4.
Good stuff as well. I mean, we spoke about these up nades all the time, or the vertical nades, this time round coming in and actually being put to good use. Definitely makes a big change when they were all wasted last time round, although Nico has died with 2 in back pocket again, so all this soft flooring that you have on Chalet not able to be put to good use as G2 now rotating their way back down through base and probably up towards Solar side to get themselves back towards site here. Glad with the early game they've had.
Yeah, that's it. They've burnt half of the round. They've got themselves a kill. It's pretty much job done. If Citizen and Alamo get safely back and have the numbers on site that they need, that is, about everything that they would have wanted from that roam, realistically. Virtue watching the breach once again. He got taken down on this angle last time around, so maybe just needs to apply a little bit more caution, maybe leave it a little bit later in the round if he can to make that challenge, give Pawns something else to be focusing on, which of course at that point would be the clock.
Being so patient here as well on Vision. They've got no nades left, so they're in that dicey spot where they can't really force the players of G2 to move anywhere. They've just got to try and make this work, going in, winning gunfights, for example, maybe making use of the flashes, but it's about the actual execute itself. And here we go to start thinking about it. WTG almost being braced for a run out as well. So he's watching on the window. You've got a couple of players focusing on trying to push in towards the site itself. Virtue for now at least is still safe, but has been pinged out. And that jammer that we saw earlier on coming into great effect, making sure that that castle barricade stays up.
It is. They're now having to choose what utility they take. And of course, they look at the bulletproof camera and get it removed. But once again, Virtue losing the fight with the UMP. 3v3 as Alamo manages to find Exodus. 24 seconds left to go. And this could be critical. Alamo needs to time this right and he needs to find his shot. Sider is putting that diffuser down, but that's the flank opened up. This is going to be very dangerous.
Where's the call?
Even with the diffuser down, it doesn't matter as Alamo is able to move in from behind. He's going to get straight on to disabling that diffuser, and I don't think there's anything WTG can do about it. He's up on the roof. He's getting nowhere near this. It's 5-0.
I love how Citizen drops the question mark at the exact same time. You've got Alamau just sat there chewing down on some snacks whilst he's holding down the F key to get that diffuse off. They know that they big brain that, and once again, the exact same thing I said that they needed to watch out for has happened in this round too, where you've got Doki in round 2 being the one getting off a big 3k flank. This time round, it's Alamau coming in behind them on the Oryx. And again, it's one of those that you look at and just think, you boys should know this is going to happen. It took a while for the call to come through that he got control of Mez anyway, but the first kill, you didn't even see a shot come back from Scyther. And realistically, he hasn't got to push that angle aggressively. They've got the diffuser down. They're already in a pretty commanding position. Why are you going looking for a gunfight? You can hold the longer angle from Library. You can hold at the top behind Pillar if you wish, or just hold outside the window itself on office balcony. You know you're not going to get swung on because there's a castle barricade there. So it's one of those where, again, I look at it and just think, G2 were expecting there to be more resistance, and there just simply was not enough coming out of the side of Pawns.
I mean, at this point, I'm sort of strongly thinking that Pawns need to stop playing Shallow.
What gives you that impression, Tim?
The last 5 rounds?
Yeah, reasonable.
I don't... They've played it twice so far, and they just don't seem to be any closer to figuring it out. The reason that I say that at this point is because I've just looked and, right, we're going back down to Wine again. And G2 are going to have a similar setup to the way that they set up last time, and Pawns got nowhere near it. They just didn't know how to attack it. They didn't know how to go down and challenge near trench or to get themselves established in anywhere that they needed to think about putting a diffuser down or playing for any sort of site execute. And then I just thought, this is now your 3rd attempt at Chalet inside of stage 2, and it's just not getting better. Doki taking Nico out for the opening kill once again. G2 are flying at the minute.
And when things aren't working, when you're losing players early on and dropping a lot of nades, what do you do, Tim? Do you focus on keeping those players alive, or do you throw more nades at the problem?
More nades.
More nades is absolutely the answer. They've brought 8 in the round. They've already lost Nico. He's having a torrid time this game. 1-6 so far, has been one of the early deaths in the vast majority of these rounds. The entry death in the last 2, it's not pretty.
Exodus manages to take down Doki in a late trade, so that's going to level things up 4v4. And that could be not fantastic for G2, because something that they did very well last time on this defence was to hold on to the map. It was to cause a nuisance around it for as long as possible, and it stopped Pawns focusing on that problem of how do we attack downstairs, how do we get control of trench, how do we get control of the bottom of West Main stairs. They never really had time to think about it because they were constantly being hassled around the map, whereas that might not quite be the case this time, although Virtue, he keeps the hassling going. He's going to find himself a kill with the ward, and it's going to be taking down Exodus. He heads straight back down blue stairs and into sight, and G2, they're just doing this fantastically well, this hit and move, hit and move, hit and move.
they're really testing the discipline of Pones as well. Just popping up a stairway here, stairway there, trying to hit them on the flank here, hit them on the flank there. And where Pones slip up, where they haven't got a drone watching it, where players are distracted by something else or all doing different things. For example, there you had WTG spraying his way through the floor whilst another man was sat halfway up blue stairs, I think it was, out towards lobby, kind of near each other, but not really working together and doing the same sort of thing. That is when G2 just keep on popping their heads up like little ferrets and just taking little chunks out of the Pones attack.
Rather than going for that rear-sided push that I love so much, they're going to be heading towards Snowmobile instead, given the defensive setup that G2 have brought along. Now then, Alamau, he's going to get himself back inside of Wine. He's not playing Boiler anymore, and that is where everybody from G2 find themselves. WTG tries to make a move down blue, but it is too easy. It's too easy for Alamau with the shotgun, and then he sends out the smoke canister. A great game that he's having so far, really controlling those attacking pushers.
I just feel like really most of G2 is very much on the same page here, right? In terms of how they're playing. You know, Citizen's been quite aggressive in the early rounds a few times and got picked off. Prano's popped his head up here and there, but the other three, it feels, really are starting to fire on all cylinders in this game. Mission bringing down Alamau, the one who did so much work on this site last time around. They're now trying to find when they can go for the plant. They've got some control of site, but know they need to find a couple of kills here because they're in a 3 versus 3. As soon as F is getting held, it becomes a temporary 1 versus 2. C4 over the top, not going to find the man as he swings to look for the kill, gets down the diffuser as well. That's exactly what you're looking for. A triple kill for Mission, but ultimately Citizen holds on.
Another good round from G2, 6-0 half, and I'm not saying that everything's been perfect from G2 on the defence there. Pawns have certainly missed steps on the attack as well, but credit where it's due to G2, certainly looking a lot better than they have in previous weeks for me.
It tells you a lot, I think, when 3 of the rounds have come down to time for them being won. It hasn't come down to kills, although necessarily it feels like it has come that way. You know, in 2 of those rounds, 1 and round 6, G2 had just 1 man left standing. And I'm looking at those and just thinking, okay, that's more a sign of Pones leaving it too late. They aren't being wiped off the board when it comes round to gunfights. It's coming down to time on 3 of these rounds at least. They've been hit on the flank in a couple of the rounds as well in rounds 2 and 5. So it's either the clock or it's not drone watching on the flank and having someone properly covering those angles. 5 out of 6 rounds, very clear mistakes there being made by Pones in my opinion, but that's all on G2 identifying those holes and either playing into the clock and stalling them out with smoke or hitting them on the flank when they see it.
Well, that's what I always say. You know, yes, mistakes are made, but if the other team doesn't punish them, guess what? You get away with those mistakes and it doesn't matter. And G2 have done that every single time. So, as I say, credit where it's due to them. A smooth first half from G2 and needing only 1 attack here. Your money would have to be on them to be able to close this out and take a full 3 points and at least move themselves ahead of Pawns. It will see them still in 8th place, but the gap will be widening at least.
Exactly that. I think it's on a bit of a hope and a prayer really of G2 to try and make the major as well. They've got to get.
I think that race is run. You know, that race is run realistically.
Yeah. You'd really need to see someone like Rogue or Eminem just really start hard.
Lose every single point,
and it's just not going to happen.
That race is run. But for now, for G2, this is about building for stage 3. It's not about a major. It's about getting this roster firing. It's about getting this roster working together and improving the performances that they're having. And it's certainly been a little bit of a step forward. Like I say, certainly, you know, not necessarily perfect, but still much better than we've seen. Mission, he's going to take the drone out. He's going to be playing the tough spot inside of the corner of Library. Citizen might be looking to get some nades over the top, but he'll need some burn if he's going to do that because there will be ADSs for Mission as well. I've no doubt whatsoever. Nade goes in through the drone hole. Not going to quite reach as far as it needs to.
I mean, it reached Mission's feet. He's took like 5 damage from that through the floor, look.
There you go. That's going to be the first ADS cleared out. Mission knows now that it's time to go. It is. It's perfectly timed. The smoke canisters continue to go in, given the opportunity there. Virtue, that's not ideal. Going to take himself down with a nade. The bad bounce as well for Doki. Sees Exodus able to find the kill, and this is all going against G2.
You're probably asking questions there, and okay, Citizen's holding the longer angle as well. They're looking for something to come of that, with Doki being the one charging through, but simply nothing comes off the back of it. Maybe a stim from Citizen would have been the difference maker. Those are the kind of things that the Thinker really helps with, that extra HP stack you get, the heal that comes up afterwards as well. So maybe a little bit of miscommunication there. Now, Eerie comes and looking for the man towards his right. No idea that he's there. He'll be standing up any second now and picking himself up a freebie. There he is. G2 kind of falling all over themselves in this round. I'll go as far as saying a self-nade coming in, 2 separate 1v1s coming in against Exodus that they've lost. It comes down to Prano and Alamau to try and win a 2 versus 4.
Plenty of time left to go. Alamau manages to find a second, taking the head of Cider. They need to be aware that there's somebody up on the top floor that they need to deal with. Ooh, what a long angle from WTG, managing to find a beauty of a headshot straight through bar onto Alamau, leaving Prano now in a 1v3. This is not going to be easy. He's got plenty of time and he keeps working. He's going to take a chip of damage there as the man moves across piano door, but the best he can hope for is a little bit of verticality here to try and get things going as he opens the hatch, but with 40 seconds left to go, it's unlikely. They know exactly where he is.
They know exactly what's going on at this point, 100%. They've got information on him as well. Hope as much as he likes, but I think Pones know just hold the slightly longer angles here. He's got to play to the time. They're even rotating out of sight to say, come on, it's safe, drop in. Try and go for the plant. Make something happen. We dare you. But at this point, it feels too little too late with all of G2 off the board. The swing comes in from WTG. And finally, Pones get around on the board.
They're going to need another 5 if they want to keep themselves even in this competition today, though.
Imagine a swing. Imagine.
You wouldn't put it past them. G2 have had their wobbles, I think it's fair to say, over the past few weeks. And, it would be a surprise still, I'd have to say. G2 have played better tonight, and I'd be shocked if Pawns were able to completely run this back in. But we're a long way from discussing that just yet. Pawns, they need at least another 3 rounds for me before I start thinking that it's even possible. Right now, they're going to be moving on to their second defensive effort, and it's going to be Kitchen and Dining, a site that we didn't see G2 utilise.
Alrighty, down we go. And the thing is, for me, Pones have got to rotate their way through all these sites as well and somehow make this work on the whole way through. It is this Kitchen and Dining one on the setup. That is Army proving to be really popular, by the way, looking at it across the board. I think we've had 2 rounds so far where we haven't seen it in this game. It's a number of games where she gets banned away. Arguably, again, because as we've seen so many times over, she just transforms the way that sites are played. Ubisoft call her an architect, the same way you have Castle, you have Mira, just fundamentally changes how a site looks, plays, and feels to attack into.
It was very much the same when Mira came in. You mentioned Mira there, and Year 2, Season 1, she came in and just started making sites viable that before were just not even a question of being a possibility to defend. And as Army, much in the same way, not necessarily with specific sites. I don't think we've seen, new sites crop up that are now viable, but what I would say is areas of the map particularly. I think Cafe Piano, you'd rarely have a defender actively playing in there past the first 30-40 seconds. Maybe try a quick peek, maybe have a little look around, and then back to Pixel or deeper, whereas this Army just makes that possible to play for minutes at a time, and it is much the same here on Chalet and other maps, so no surprise to see her pick rate going through the roof.
I know Exodus doesn't often put up super huge numbers. Some games he'll go absolutely nuclear and drop 15 plus kills, and he looks fantastic. But even in games like this where he's not putting up big numbers, I just love watching him play. I think he's so mobile and so willing to backtrace his steps where he's already fell away from once, which keeps teams second guessing. Will he reappear there? Will he keep on pulling back? You're never really quite sure. And he always goes back in, he finds more drones, he keeps on stepping forwards. Looking here, for example, G2 have lost 6 drones here in the space of 60 seconds. So a really good job by Pones to chew through that information.
It's going to make it difficult for the attackers to be confident when going into this map. Now, Virtue just going to shoot out the bathroom window. Maybe a little bit of information to suggest there might be somebody inside of there. He's no doubt going to see on the drone, but no, he goes the wrong way. He's not going to pick up the man. It gets caught in a mute jammer. A little bit sloppy with the drone there. Too close to the wall, and Virtue finds himself punished for it as WTG finds the kill, but it's Alamau once again there for the trade to keep it 4v4.
Good little bit of team play here to make sure things are equalised out. G2 at this point have got this top floor control they're looking for, so now they can start thinking about the vertical. The issue is, Tim, their vertical player in the sledge is now dead. So they've got to turn towards things like, if they've got breaching charges, which they do a couple in the back pocket of Prano, they can make use of those. They can get the hatch opened up with him as well. But really for me, the damage is going to come from those nades in the back pocket of Doki and Citizen. So I really want to see them put them to good use, because we criticise Pones for poor nade usage. It would be unfair to not say to G2, look, you come into this round with 6, you need to achieve something with them.
Doki manages to find a kill onto Scyther. That's going to be the headshot taking him down. Emission's playing deep inside his sight, so that leaves Pawns with only 2 flex at the minute, but Emission managing to find a long angle onto Doki there, punishes him in a late trade, and we find ourselves now in a 3v3. Alamau's going to start sending the Rotero drones to try and clear out a bit of utility, maybe move these players around, but no, it's sort of heading up and down those trophy stairs before deciding what the ultimate target is, looking for a bit of information, I think, not really getting anything, and here comes the rear-sided push.
I think they know about this one. Oh, the ping comes in, but they're in the wrong spot as well. well. The yellow ping just half a meter away means they don't get the pre-fire, and instead the kill is found back on the other side. G2 starting to struggle a little bit on their attacks here in these last couple of rounds, and now they've got to make something happen inside the last 15. Prano, the man took just inside of red here. I think he has no idea. Citizen has dropped his way in. In comes the Juice, and now looking for players. Finds one more for himself. Have they won this between the two of them as well as Prano steps up and gets it? The spray comes in from Nico, but the clock hits 0. Holds it out in the 1v2, and Pones keep this game alive.
Unfortunate there as Pones managed to keep a hold of that one. It was all a bit frantic at the end in a 2v2 as Citizen managed to get an unlikely kill after dropping directly into sight, but it was unable to be backed up. I think it was actually Prano, sorry, they both went for the Azami at the same time. It was Prano who actually managed to secure the kill, and then Citizen unable to find the other. Prano unable to get the diffuser down and secure it, and G2 taking the tactical timeout.
I mean, why not? You've got it to use. You're up 6-2. You need literally one round on the board, and you've done it. You've got over the finish line. And the thing is, you also know Pones are going into one of their more less desired / unfavourable sites, right? They've won in bar and gaming, they've won in kitchen and dining. You're either going to Master and Office, or you're going down to Snowmobile and Wine Cellar in the basement. Either way, both of those sites, I feel, are quite exploitable. Master and Office, frowned upon a little bit around the world. It's a little bit too open. Double window is a real big threat point for it, for example. Downstairs, I know what you're like about this, Tim, so Pones have definitely got to go to a less preferred site here. This is where G2 want to really put the nail in the coffin before it gets out of hand.
Well, the thing is, if Pones try to use the basement site, my concern is, obviously we've seen G2 do it, and they defended it well. Pones haven't shown us that before. So the first time we saw Pones do it back in week 1, they reinforced the hatch, they just reinforced off the 2 walls that I've spoken about, and they allowed the attackers to push and open them up. It was a problem. It's no surprise to see them avoid it, because then they left the hatch soft last time. We saw them play it their second time of the year, of the stage, sorry. We saw them leave the hatch soft, but they didn't bring anything to physically open it with. So whilst it was soft, they could still do nothing through it. It was useless to them as defenders. It needs to be opened up or reinforced, depending which setup you're playing. So Pones, they are going to sack that off. They're going to go up to the top floor. It's going to be Master and Office, and they're going to try to hold on for one more up here and just keep clawing their way back into this.
Looking like a pretty atypical setup as well. I want to see if Exodus was going to drop down a couple of those castle barricades around the double window in towards top piano. Normally that'll happen, so your defenders can quite happily move around this area. And I think now WTG has stepped through. There you go, out it comes. Some teams used to normally like double up that up, and you'll do one on double window and one on the single door. But the one on the single window, on the double window, sorry, is normally quite easily taken out. For example, as Ophir gets up there, breach and charge on it, it gets blown out. Away you go with the impact through, and it's like it was never there in the first place. So I think they got quite a smart decision here.
Exactly. I mean, you can even take the multiple hits on it safely enough. It's really not too much of a problem to clear that one out. Like you say, instead opting for the bathroom and piano windows now, then Drone's going to be going in from Solarium. Either sees that, but he's not going to overextend. The temptation is always there, of course. He gets it just as it comes around the corner. Temptation always there to step forward and try and take those utility tools down, but the last thing you want to do is give away your life for it. Now then, I think we were just having a frost trap still applied there, so WTG maybe a little bit late in the setup, or maybe just a little bit of an alteration depending on what they are seeing. But Exodus is going to take some damage on the castle underneath, so he's going to scarper away, but heading into main lobby could be dangerous.
For sure. At least to start things off, there's been no craziness at windows or at doorways, though. G2 keeping things pretty sensible on the attack to start. They're very conscious about the threat of Siler pushing back up here towards the half wall. It's why nades are coming in blind. Now, I'm glad they're using nades. They haven't really been used too much very liberally, but now they have. They've had 3 come out in the round so far, but here comes the explosion they were looking for. 2 kills raining in very quickly here for G2, and they're pushing in towards piano. What a flick coming out from Alamau as well, as G2 have found all the kills they need. We knew it was destined to be a thing. It was more a matter of when and not if they find the kills they need in that final round. G2 taking the game 7-3.
Exodus, no option there other than to try and make a play, try and get something going. Goes out of the window, takes the Claymore, but that will be all he takes down as G2 find that final kill and managed to get themselves a very comfortable 7-2 victory on Chalet. The second set of 3 points in the bag for stage 2, and overall, not perfect, but a reasonable performance from G2.
Being dead real against one of the bottom teams in the competition, you'd hope to see a good shot at them, right? And I will give it to them.
Absolutely.
They played it very well. They wasted a lot of time from Pones. They made good use of flanks, for example. Some of the team play we saw was brilliant. It's far from the star-studded team that we were really hoping to see G2 transform into, but I feel that's a really good step on the road towards greatness.
As I always say, you can only beat the team in front of you, and G2 did exactly that today. Like you said, they punished the mistakes, They just need to use that as a foundation. You know, it needs to be part of the building block. That's 2 wins in 3 play days, if I'm correct in my thinking. You know, that starts to put them on a little bit of a road to think, yeah, you know, things are starting to click a little bit at least.
It will. And no doubt it's going to take more time for them as well. I have zero doubt the offseason will be big for G2. For Pones, we saw them start to shine at bits in a couple of weeks prior. They've started to get things together, but today they were bested by G2 in that 7-2 on Chalet. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, Desk will break it down for you.